Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, January the 4th. Now we got a shorter Tuesday slate today. We just got a 5-gamer, just 5 games, but we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each one of these 5 games, break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at the slate on Monday night. And then as we do go through each game, we'll build out an early core, talk about 5 players specifically I like for both Draftkings and for Yahoo. Now, as always, these are my first looks of the slate. With a sport like NBA, you always have to pay attention to injury news. You always have to be, updating your lineups, checking for updates, paying attention to the most up-to-date news. If you guys enjoy these first look videos and you do want more updated content from me, I do provide that over on Patreon. So you can check that out. Link down below in the description. Get access to all of my updated DFS content, my updated core plays, my positional plays, my favorite plays at each position, my rankings, top 20 plays of the day, ranked in order of interest. Also, get in our Discord chat where you can ask me questions throughout the day. I'm able to answer questions in Discord basically up until lock, and even after lock, I'm in Discord to answer questions. That's another perk of being a Patreon member. And you also do get some of my favorite picks on Prize Picks each day. So for those of you that are new here, Prize Picks is the sponsor of this video. You can go check them out. Also, link down below in the description, or just when you sign up for Prize Picks, use code NOAH and they will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my code. And you can take a look at what Prize Picks has to offer. They are player prop based DFS sites. So you're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. It is very simple. If you have a lean one way or the other, over or under, you make at least 2 picks and you can make up to 5 picks. You can mix and match sports. You can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So go sign up over there. Use code NOAH when you do so you get that deposit bonus. And if you want some of my favorite picks on Prize Picks each day, along with the entries that I make that I am playing myself, I give those all out on Patreon. That's linked down below in the description if that's something that interests you. But let's take a look at Tuesday's 5-game slate. And we're going to start off with the Memphis and Cleveland game. So looking at the Grizzlies today, John Morant at the top for 9,700. I think once again, kind of looks like an appealing tournament option. Now, Ja at this price point is not really going to project he's not going to project well as like a great, core option. It's not like, he's going to project for like 60 DraftKings points or anything, but at 9,700, we know Ja still has the upside to pay off this price tag, even though he's not going to project that well at the salary. I think you're overpaying for Ja a little bit right now. The matchup against Cleveland may not be ideal. Cleveland's been one of the better defensive teams this year, but I still think Ja has plenty of upside. I think in tournaments, he does make plenty of sense on this slate. If I can find the salary, I probably would rather pay up for like LeBron. Sabonis I like quite a bit too, who's kind of closely priced to Ja, but I think Ja's a pretty appealing tournament play once again. I think Desmond Bane is a fine tournament option as well. He's been playing a ton of minutes lately, been taking a ton of shots without Dillon Brooks. I do expect a lot of shot attempts for both Ja and Desmond Bane, and we've seen that as of late. So I think Desmond Bane's playable. Triple J, I don't think on this slate I'd be going to Triple J. The floor on Triple J is still fairly low, especially because he's always in foul trouble, it seems like. There's still a ceiling for him if he can stay out of foul trouble and if he does play his full minutes. But at 6,400, I don't think he's really like a standout play today. Steven Adams at 5,500 is a guy that I just don't really play that often. He probably plays like 28, 30 minutes. I think they are going to need his size against this Cleveland team that does play pretty big. So I think it's more likely than not we get like 30, 32 minutes from Steven Adams today. At 5,500, I think he's priced where he should be. But in this type of matchup against a Cleveland team that does play big, I think Steven Adams will be out there a good amount. So he's at least playable. Tyus Jones last game only saw 19 minutes against Brooklyn on Monday night. I thought with how many guys were out for Memphis, I thought we might see Tyus play a lot alongside Ja. They didn't really do that. I mean, on a 5-game slate, a shorter slate, I still think Tyus is viable just because they're still missing Dillon Brooks, Kyle Anderson, D'Anthony Mellon. They're still missing a lot of guys, key rotation guys. He only played 19 minutes Monday, but I think most likely we get like 22, 24 minutes from Tyus Jones. He might play some alongside Ja as well. At 4,100, he is a playable value option. I think that will depend on John Conchar if he's back for this game. He did go into health and safety protocols pretty recently, so I don't think he'd be back today. Obviously, though, if he comes back, he'll probably be back in the starting lineup, and that would definitely really take me off of Tyus Jones. And then I'm pretty sure Killian Tilly actually started on Monday. He didn't really do much in the starting lineup. He was in major foul trouble, had 5 fouls in 16 minutes. Look, he's only 3,300, so I guess if he starts again, he's at least a playable value. In the starting lineup, I don't really know how much usage he's going to get when he's playing alongside Bane and Ja and Triple J. I just don't know if he's going to be someone that is really out there taking a lot of shots when those are going to be the guys, really demanding all the usage. But if he starts again, he's 3,300. He would at least be a playable pay down option if you're looking for someone this cheap. That's probably it for Memphis. Now on the Cleveland side, Darius Garland right now is listed as questionable. He practiced on Monday. He has cleared COVID protocol, so there's a chance that Darius Garland could be back today. If he does return, he might be on a minutes limit just because he hasn't played in about a week or so. I don't think Darius Garland, if he plays, would really be viable. I think if Garland does play, that makes some of these other Cleveland guys look a little bit less appealing, like Brandon Goodwin, Jetty Osman if he returns. Jetty Osman, he did not participate in Monday's practice. It looks like so. I'm guessing that since Jetty Osman didn't practice, he probably doesn't play, but maybe if he does at 4,500, he would be viable. It looks like Isaac Okoro is out right now for Cleveland. I didn't even know this, so I guess with Okoro out, there should be more minutes available for some of these guys. Like, Kevin Pangos lately has been starting. Obviously, if Garland returns, I have no interest in Kevin Pangos, but without Okoro, maybe if Garland sits too, Pangos could be a viable cheap option. But I don't see a ton I really like from Cleveland today. And then, the main guys, Kevin Love, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. I think Evan Mobley would be my favorite of these three just because I think at 7,100, he's the most mispriced. I think he's a little bit cheaper than he probably should be. I think most nights, Evan Mobley is going to give us close to 40 DraftKings points. And at 7,100, it's probably a little bit too cheap for him on this slate specifically. But like Jared Allen's 8,500, Kevin Love coming off the bench. I mean, Kevin Love's been amazing this year, but coming off the bench at 7,500, like you're really overpaying for Kevin Love right now, especially with Allen and Mobley both healthy. So I don't really have any interest in him, but I think, Evan Mobley at 7,100 is viable today. The rest of the Cleveland guys, I'm not that interested in. I don't see too much else I really like on this Cavs team. So we can move on to the next game, talk about San Antonio and Toronto. So for San Antonio, Dejounte Murray, he has cleared COVID protocols, but he's going to be held out for conditioning reasons. So Dejounte Murray is going to be out once again. With Dejounte Murray out, I mean, we should continue to expect a pretty heavy workload for Derek White. Derek White got up to 42 minutes last game. I think that game did go to overtime, but still he played a ton of minutes. Really good game, 46 DraftKings points, had a double-double, 18 points, 14 assists. His assist numbers these last 4 games without Dejounte Murray have been amazing. 10 assists, 8 assists, 9 assists, and 14 assists for Derek White these last 4 games. Obviously, we know he's going to score as well. He's going to take plenty of shots. I think Derek White as a mid-range guard option makes a lot of sense. I think he's definitely my favorite play from the San Antonio team. I think Jakob Poeltl at 6,100 is viable. He should probably play around 32, 34 minutes here if this game is close. I think he's probably priced where he should be, but Jakob Poeltl is playable. Keldon Johnson, I'm not that interested in. The rest of the Spurs, I'm not too interested in either. We will need to pay attention to the starting lineup. So I know Trey Jones did start recently, played 32 minutes, had 27 DK points. If he winds up starting again, I think at 3,800, Trey Jones will be a pretty decent value play on this slate. It's all going to depend on if Keita Bates-Diop plays or not, because I think if Keita Bates-Diop plays, he will probably be in the starting lineup. But if he gets ruled out, if he remains out, I'm assuming we'll see Derek White, Jakob Poeltl, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Trey Jones start, which was the 5 starters last game. Yes, if Trey Jones starts, he's going to be a viable cheap play. Devin Vassell, he did play a ton of minutes last game. He started, and he's only 4,400, so he's another guy you could throw into the value pool. These Spurs values, so far this year, they've been really, really inconsistent. It seems like when the Spurs are like a team you look to for value, it just never goes well. But I think Devin Vassell is going to have to play a lot. I think Trey Jones is going to play a lot too if Bates-Diop's still out. Obviously Lonnie Walker, Doug McDermott are out as well. So that's obviously opening up a lot of minutes for those guys. But yeah, Derek White I think is a really good play with Dejounte still out. And then I think for value we can look to Devin Vassell. We can look to Trey Jones. Those are 2 guys I think make sense as pay down options. Now on the other side with Toronto, it's really hard to prioritize anyone on Toronto right now because they're pretty much fully healthy. Everyone is back, and where all these guys are priced at, nobody really stands out at their price tag. Obviously, Fred VanVleet can have a big game any night. We've seen him put up, some massive games lately, at least 54 DraftKings points in 4 straight games. But, now that Scotty Barnes, OG, Siakam are all back, I don't think we can expect these type of performances from VanVleet. I still think he has this kind of upside, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that consistently puts up 50-plus DraftKings points a night. At 9K, I think you are overpaying a little bit for VanVleet. I think the same could be said for Siakam. Scotty Barnes at 8K, I think it's a fine play. We know Scotty Barnes and really all these main Toronto guys, VanVleet, Siakam, Barnes, OG, Gary Trent as well. All 5 of those guys are going to play a lot of minutes. If the game is close, you're going to get probably 36, close to 40 minutes from all 5 of those guys. So they're all viable just because the minutes will be there, but at their price tags, again, none of them really stand out as priority plays today. And I don't think there's too much I really like that much from Toronto in general. So I think we can move on to the next game. Talk about Indiana and the Knicks. So the Pacers are one team that I think really stands out as a team to target just because of how shorthanded they are right now. No Karis LeVert, no Malcolm Brogdon, no Chris Duarte, T.J. Warren out. Jeremy Lamb got put in COVID protocols a while ago, like a week ago. Maybe he comes back today, but I highly doubt it. So probably Jeremy Lamb's going to be out. T.J. McConnell is still out. Goga Patazzi recently got put in COVID protocols. So they're missing a lot of key guys. Really, the main two that really have the most impact here is that LeVert and Brogdon are both out in COVID protocols right now. So we should expect a monster workload for Domantas Sabonis, a monster workload for Miles Turner. We saw Dwayne Washington, I think that's how you say his name. He got some big minutes last game. He's someone we'll talk about as well. But Sabonis at 9,900, especially since this price tag has come down a little bit. I really like Sabonis on this slate. I think he stands out on both sides. On Yahoo, I like him quite a bit as well. $41. He's one of my favorite pay-up options on the slate. We saw him dominate last game with LeVert out, with Brogdon out, played 39 minutes, had 62 DraftKings points, nearly had a triple-double, 3 assists shy of a triple-double, 32 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and a block for Sabonis in 39 minutes. I mean, we know Sabonis has massive upside, and we know when he's kind of the guy getting all the usage, like he can really produce in these type of scenarios. I don't know if we can expect him to score as much as he did last game, but we know the peripherals are going to be there. Sabonis is always going to be around the rim getting rebounds. He has the ball in his hands a lot. They run a lot of pick and roll with Sabonis, a lot of pick and pop, so he's always getting assists as well. He's a really good passer for a big man. He's a guy that does offer triple-double upside. At 9,900, I think he's a really good pay-up option on this slate. I like Sabonis quite a bit. I think Miles Turner looks really good as well. Miles Turner played 37 minutes last game against Cleveland, had 40 DraftKings points, double-double for him, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Miles Turner, usually not a guy that really gets a ton of rebounds. His rebounding numbers are great whenever Sabonis is not on the floor, but whenever he's playing alongside Sabonis just soaks up all those rebounds to where Turner normally is not a guy that's going to get double-digit rebounds, but the defensive stats are something that Turner really excels in. He always gets a lot of blocks. He can get a lot of steals. He's a good three-point shooter. I think Miles Turner at 6,800, he's going to probably have to shoot the ball more. They're going to need him more offensively. They're going to need him to play big minutes as well. I think Miles Turner is a really good play. Justin Holiday, I'm not that big of a fan of. Justin Holiday, just a really low-usage player, doesn't take a lot of shots. Last game, he took 10 shots, and 9 of them were three-pointers, so he's basically just kind of like a 3-and-D guy. He's going to take a lot of threes, and outside of that, he's not going to do really anything else except maybe get a few rebounds, maybe get a couple assists, maybe he gets a steal or a block. At 4,900, I think with where Justin Holiday's priced at, I'm fine avoiding him. I think the same could be said for Torrey Craig. I thought they were going to start Torrey Craig last game, but he came off the bench and only played 21 minutes, so he's kind of tough to trust. But Dwayne Washington, I do like a lot. So $4K on DraftKings, fairly cheap on Yahoo as well, $12 over there. We did see him start the other day whenever Chris Duarte was out, and he wasn't as great that game, played 30 minutes against the Bulls, 21 DK points, but last game against Cleveland, he started again, played 34 minutes, had 27 DK points. I think without Karis LeVert, without Malcolm Brogdon, there's obviously a lot of usage to go around. There's a lot of shots to go around as well. And we saw Washington take a good amount of shots when he was on the court. It's not like he was out there just standing in the corner. He was shooting the ball. He shot the ball 17 times, 4 for 9 from 3. Didn't have a ton of peripherals. I don't know too much about this guy, but just given the minutes he's been playing, given the price tag as well, given that he's taken 14 and 17 shots in the 2 starts he's made so far with the Pacers, I think at 4K, if we can expect that type of shot volume, those type of minutes, he's going to project out as a pretty good value play, assuming all these guys that are out remain out. Now, obviously, when it comes to COVID protocols, we don't really know when players are going to return, but for now, I'm just going to assume that everyone is out, remains out, which is going to make all these guys look very, very appealing. Then they did start this Skies guy at point guard. He played 35 minutes, had 24 DK points. I don't know really anything about this guy, but if he starts again at point guard, he's 3,500, and he played 35 minutes last game. So as a value option, I think he's a pretty decent play as well. I would probably rather get to Washington, but I think Skies at 3,500, another guy we can look to as a pay down value. And that's probably it from the Pacers. Definitely a team I like quite a bit, just with how shorthanded they are. I think Sabonis and Washington are my 2 favorite plays here, but really like Miles Turner as well. And I think Skies, if he starts again at 3,500, is a pretty decent value play. But moving on to the Knicks side. So the Knicks are kind of also shorthanded right now. No Julius Randle in COVID protocols. And then Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker are both out for injury right now. So Alec Burks has not been starting lately, even with Rose and Walker both out, but he did actually start the second half over Miles McBride. They started Miles McBride last game, but given that Burks started the second half over McBride, like I think there's a pretty good chance they move Burks into the starting lineup today. If Burks does wind up starting, I think at 6,300, he's going to project as a pretty good play. Just because Alec Burks, we know, can produce when he's on the court, especially when he's the point guard, when he's the guy with the ball in his hands. And without Derrick Rose, without Kemba, obviously Alec Burks is going to be the primary ball handler when he's on the court. So I think at 6,300, if he moves back in the starting lineup, Alec Burks looks pretty appealing. If he doesn't start, then he's going to be a riskier option just because you're paying a lot for him if he's coming off the bench. I would prefer to see him in the starting lineup. RJ Barrett at 5,600, I think there should be more usage, more shots available for him. Without Kemba, without Rose, without Randall, these last 2 games without them, he's been decent. 41 DK points against OKC, 29 DK points last game against Toronto, 20 shots against OKC, shot the ball 14 times last game. I think at 5,600, RJ Barrett looks pretty appealing on this Knicks team. I do have some interest in him. Now, Obi Toppin, he was pretty chalky the other day against OKC. He was really cheap that day. Obviously, that was the first day that Randall was out, and he really disappointed. Only had 14 DK points in 27 minutes. And then, obviously, the next slate, he just goes nuts. I don't think he was that owned either. I think he was pretty low owned that day. Played 45 minutes in regulation, had 41 DraftKings points, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Obi Toppin, I played Obi Toppin, I think it was Friday when they played OKC. I played him that day because I felt like the upside was massive without Randall. I thought he was going to play a ton of minutes, and obviously that didn't happen. And then the next day, or the next game they play, basically everything I thought would happen on Friday when I played him didn't happen. It happened the day after that. He played a ton of minutes, and he was really productive. I don't know if we can expect Obi Toppin to play almost the entire game like he did last game, but I think he can play a lot of minutes if they choose to give him a lot of minutes. He's obviously a very young guy. I think he's in he's probably in really good shape to where he can handle those type of minutes. So it's possible we get like 36, 40 minutes from Obi Toppin if he's playing well. Now, the price tag's come up to 5,200, so it's not like we're getting much of a discount on him anymore. But I think he will play a lot if he's playing well, just because without Randall, he's going to be the primary guy getting all those power forward minutes. So I still think Obi Toppin's viable. Evan Fournier, he's a pretty score-independent player. He's not a guy that I really roster that much to begin with. He's been really inconsistent this year. Last game, he had 21 DK points in 26 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, or not points, but 0 rebounds, 0 assists, no blocks, no steals. He literally just had 20 points. That was it. I think Evan Fournier is fine at 5,100, but I'd probably rather play Barrett. Probably would rather play Obi Toppin too. Mitchell Robinson's currently questionable. He was in health and safety protocols, and he's cleared health and safety protocols. He's listed as questionable. Keep an eye on this. If he doesn't play, I'm guessing we would see Taj Gibson start at center again, especially since Nerlens Noel's out. Taj Gibson last game did start, played 30 minutes. He was not that productive, only had 16 DK points, but I think if Robinson's out as well, we would see Taj Gibson start and probably play as many minutes as he can handle. So at 3,700, he would be another viable value play. And then, like Miles McBride started last game, but he only played 15 minutes. Even if he starts again, he's going to be a pretty risky option. I don't think I'd be going to him. I think that's probably it for the Knicks. I think we talked about basically everything that stands out here. So we can move on to the next game, talk about the Suns and the Pelicans. So on the Suns today, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, on this slate specifically, I think both look like decent options. I think Chris Paul is by far my favorite just because of the savings you get right now, or at least on DraftKings. Booker's priced at 8,800 and Paul's only 7,400. I think with the Yahoo pricing, they're pretty similar. Paul's 33 and Booker's 34. So there, I would probably rather side with Booker just because they're closely priced. But on DraftKings, 7,400 for Chris Paul, I think looks pretty appealing. Last game Chris Paul was really productive in just 26 minutes, had 40 DK points. It was a massive blowout last game against Charlotte. Chris Paul barely played in the fourth quarter. I don't even know how many minutes he played in the fourth quarter. It wasn't much at all. I think if this game stays close, we should expect Chris Paul to get back to 32, 34 minutes, what he normally plays. At 7,400, that's definitely too cheap for Chris Paul. If he plays like 34, 35 minutes here in a close game. Obviously against the Pelicans, a team that's not that good, there's some blowout risk here, but I think Chris Paul at 7,400 looks like a really good mid-range guard option. I think Devin Booker is a decent play as well. I just would prefer Paul given the savings. Jalen Smith I still like quite a bit. So Jalen Smith has been starting at center lately with both DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee out. I'm assuming both of them are going to be out once again. I'm pretty sure on the injury report, at least right now, they're listed as out. So if DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee are both still out, we should expect Jalen Smith to start and probably play around 30 minutes. The last 4 games he has started, he's played 29, 25, 27, and 24 minutes. And, obviously last game was a massive blowout. Been productive, though, in those minutes, 28, 35, 29, and 39 DraftKings points. He's got a double-double in 2 of those 4 games. I think at 5,500, Jalen Smith still looks pretty appealing on the slate as a kind of mid-range power forward option. Obviously, you can play him at center as well. Definitely like him on both sides. He's pretty cheap on Yahoo, too, if you want to play him over there. Just $15. I definitely like Jalen Smith on both sides. If we assume A and McGee are both out, which it looks like they still will be. And then like Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, they're fine. Cam Johnson should start, play like 32, 34 minutes. At 5,200, I think he's priced where he should be. Same could be said for Mikal Bridges at 4,800. And Mikal Bridges is a guy that doesn't really offer much of a ceiling. He doesn't really do much except get defensive stats, get a few rebounds. He's not going to score a ton. At 4,800, he's a playable option, but not a guy that I think I'd really be going to in GPPs. I think at 4,800, he's maybe a fine cash play just because he's probably going to project for like 28 DraftKings points or 26 DK points. But the ceiling on Mikal Bridges is just not that high. So I don't love him that much, to be honest. I think that's probably it for the Suns. I think definitely Chris Paul and Jalen Smith are my 2 favorite plays here. I think Devin Booker's a viable option too. Cam Johnson's playable, but definitely CP3 and Smith I like quite a bit. And then on the Pelicans side, so Brandon Ingram at 9,600. On this slate specifically, really tough to get to Brandon Ingram at this price point. Like, you're definitely overpaying for him right now. It's a tough matchup against the Suns as well. There's just a ton of other guys I'd rather be playing at similar price tags. So really no interest in Brandon Ingram, just too expensive. J-Val at 9,300, going up against Jalen Smith. I think this is a pretty good matchup for J-Val. I think this is one that he should have a lot of success in. The price tag on him feels probably where it should be, if not, a little bit too expensive. But if this game stays close, I mean, J-Val definitely has a lot of upside here against Jalen Smith, who probably won't be able to stop him defensively. I know Jalen Smith's kind of like a skinnier guy. J-Val's obviously a big body that can really beat you down low in the paint. So I think J-Val at 9,300 makes sense as a tournament option. I think he's probably my favorite play from the Pelicans in general. Josh Hart, Devontae Graham, Herbert Jones, I'm not really that interested in these guys at their price tags. Josh Hart's been playing really well lately, been getting big minutes, so I guess at 6,600 he's playable. But again, at this price tag, he's not like a priority play for me. I think you're kind of overpaying for Josh Hart a little bit at 6,600. But yeah, that's probably it for this game. We can move on to the last game of the night, the Kings and the Lakers. So in terms of, pace, expected points scored, this is by far one of the most appealing games just because so far this year, these two teams have been pretty fast in terms of pace. Right now, the Kings, looking at pace stats, they are 8th in pace, and the Lakers are 2nd. So top 10 teams in pace going up against each other. Tyrese Halliburton is 7,300. With De'Aaron Fox back, Tyrese Halliburton has still been pretty solid. You've seen him have some good games, even with Fox back in the mix lately. Still been getting a ton of assists, at least 10 assists in 4 straight games. Hasn't been scoring as much, but I still think at 7,300, Halliburton is a viable option on this slate, especially in a really good matchup against the Lakers. I think De'Aaron Fox, though, looks really appealing. 7,100 on DraftKings. That is really cheap for De'Aaron Fox. And he's also really cheap on Yahoo as well. Just $28 over there. I really like De'Aaron Fox on both sides. I love this matchup for him against the Lakers. The Lakers, again, they're a team that plays really fast. Defensively, they haven't really been that good of a defensive team this year. We've seen De'Aaron Fox be very inconsistent this season. We've seen him show a very low floor. Obviously, he's had some really disappointing games lately. 22 DK points, 27 DK points, 19 DK points. But last game we saw him kind of, get back into form. 43 DK points in 35 minutes in a tough matchup against the Heat. Now he gets a really good matchup against the Lakers. And so far this year against the Lakers, he's played really well against them. He's averaged 43 DK points through 2 games against them. I think this is a type of matchup, type of game that sets up really well for Fox. These fast-paced games that, where you see just a lot of points scored, these are the games that Fox usually excels in. So I think at 7,100, he is definitely underpriced for this matchup. I know the recent play for Fox has not been great. I know he's been really inconsistent, but I still like him quite a bit against this Lakers team. I think De'Aaron Fox is definitely a strong play. I think Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield are fine tournament options. It's a really good matchup. Obviously, it's a game that you expect a lot of points to be scored, so I think we wouldn't be surprising to see either one of Barnes or Hield do well here. I think Buddy Hield's a guy that does offer somewhat of a ceiling in this type of game. Again, another fast-paced game where you should see a lot of shot attempts. Buddy Hield's obviously a guy that when he gets hot, like, he can put up big games. We saw that last game against Miami. Shot 7 for 14 from 3, 9 for 18 from the field, had 41 DraftKings points. At 5,400 as a tournament option, I think Buddy Hield makes plenty of sense today. And then I do want to talk about value with the big. So last game with Rashawn Holmes out, we did see Damian Jones actually start at center. And Damian Jones played pretty well, and he played pretty good minutes too. He played 29 minutes as the starting center, had a double-double, 35 DraftKings points in those 29 minutes. When he's gotten minutes this year, just kind of as the backup, he's been really productive. We obviously haven't seen him play a ton this year just because he's been the backup to Holmes. They've even, there's been games this year where he's been DNP'd. But it seems like right now he's got a pretty secure role as the backup center. And obviously now that Holmes is out, well, he's a starting center. So I'm expecting Jones to start again. I'm expecting him to play probably close to 30 minutes. At 4K, I think he's a pretty good value play on the slate. Now, obviously, his price tag went up a lot. He was minimum salary last slate. He's now up to 4K today. But I still think he's probably a little bit too cheap. If we expect, around 30 minutes again for Damian Jones, he's definitely one of the better value plays on this slate, in my opinion. And he's really cheap on Yahoo, so if you want to play him over there, $12. I think Damian Jones looks pretty good on both sides. I definitely like him a lot from this Kings team. And that's probably it from Sacramento. I don't see too much else that I really like here. Marvin Bagley last game played 20 minutes. I think he has been starting lately, but his minutes have just kind of been all over the place. Metu last game played 15 minutes. I don't think I'm going to go to either one of Bagley or Metu. I think mainly Jones and Fox are my two favorite plays, and then I think in tournaments, Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield, those guys make some sense as well. And that's probably the only Kings that I have interest in on this slate. So we can move on to the Lakers side. Looking at the Lakers here, with AD still out, I think both LeBron and Westbrook are pretty decent pay-up options. I think LeBron specifically is probably one of the better pay-up options in general. He finally had a floor game last game against Minnesota, and he still put up 51 DraftKings points. At this point, a 50-point game from LeBron is disappointing. He's kind of reached Jokic territory as to where his floor is just so high. He's just doing so much for this Lakers team. He's basically the entire offense. He's taking a ton of shots every night. He's getting rebounds. He's getting assists. He's been starting at center lately, which has been great for his rebound numbers. We've seen him, put up double-digit rebounds in 3 of his last 4 games. Great matchup against the Kings, fast-paced game. This is a spot where LeBron just has massive upside. The price tag went down a little bit. Yeah, especially if we get a lot of value open up as the day goes on, which could happen. I think LeBron's going to be probably a priority spend-up option. If I can find a way to play him and Sabonis together, I think that's something I definitely want to try and do on the slate. I really like LeBron. I think Russell Westbrook's a fine play as well. Now, he's been really up and down this year, but we've seen Westbrook still offers triple-double upside, can still go for 50, 60 DraftKings points any night. I think it's a pretty good matchup for Westbrook. I think the upside's there. I definitely prefer LeBron straight up, but I still think Westbrook is in play. Now, Malik Monk's been playing really well. His price tag's come up to 5,100 though, so at this price tag, Malik Monk's not a priority play for me, but I still think he's viable just because they need his offense, and he's been one of their kind of secondary guys that has been giving them good offense as of late. He's been shooting the ball pretty well. He's been taking a good amount of shots every game. The shot volume's there, so at 5,100, I still think Malik Monk is in play. Just not as high on him now that price tag has gotten to where it is. And then the rest of the Lakers, Carmelo, THT, I'm not really interested in these guys. Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore, these guys have been getting DNP'd lately. Basically, the Lakers have been running a really tight rotation. Basically, LeBron, Westbrook, Monk, Carmelo, THT, Avery Bradley. I think Stanley Johnson's been, key part. Trevor Ariza. These have been really the only guys getting minutes lately. And then, Austin Reeves been getting minutes too. But yeah, I think mainly LeBron is the priority from the Lakers, and I think Westbrook and Malik Monk are both in play as well, and that's probably it from this Lakers team. So, yeah, I think that's it for this 5-game Tuesday slate. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and they'll match your first deposit. PrizePicks will give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. And if you want some of my favorite picks each day on PrizePicks, I do give those out for Patreon members. I also give out the entries that I am playing myself, that I am putting my own money on. If you want access to all that, you want all the additional DFS content I provide along with my PrizePicks plays, those are available on Patreon. Check that out. Link down below in the description. But best of luck on this 5-game Tuesday slate. Appreciate you guys watching the video. We will see you in the next one. Peace.